Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Atpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So where are we in our text?
Chapter 4, number 4.
Chapter 4, number 4. Can you help us out, please? Who wants to chant? Which of you?
Is Amini on the call?
Is Amini on the call?
No, she's not.
No Amini. Oh my.
Okay, I can. Verse 4. Tasyaisha adesho yate vidva yadeta dvidhyato vyadhyu tada 3. Sorry. This is 3, I guess. Iti nyami mishada 3. Iti adhidaivatam. This is the description of Brahman. Description by means of an illustration. He shone forth like the splendor of lightning. He disappeared within the twinkling of the eye. This is the comparison of the Brahman with reference to the Devas, his manifestation as cosmic powers.
Yes. So, the idea here is for the person who is ego identified still. This is what it means with reference to the Devas, meaning a person is still looking outward by and large. The Brahman appears like a flash of lightning. All sorts of layers in this allegory. So the clearest one is when we're here in satsang or in your deepest meditation, we tune up the mind with the Vedanta just a bit. We have this introversion of the attentive faculty. So, for example, just listen to the traffic. Now, with a quiet mind, see if you can notice who hears the traffic. And you get a glimpse of the space of the no thingness of self. Like a flash of lightning, just a little bit. But for most of us, When we still have a mind covered with vasana, it goes away very fast. Just like the lightning strike goes away. So that's one level of looking at what this metaphor of like a flash of lightning. A deeper explanation of this verse has to do with this idea that self-realization is immediate and sudden. There is no process. I'm getting more realized. I'm getting more enlightened. I'm progressing more. Many of us have these ideas. And the easiest way to explain this is let's go back to our classic image of the snake and the rope. So the substratum is rope. And because of my ignorance of the nature of the rope, I imagine a snake, adhyasa, superimposition, and then I have fear and trembling. Oh, I'm so frightened about the snake. Now, when we investigate to find out whether or not there's really a snake there, is this what happens? Oh, Jim, I've been doing rope meditation now for 20 years. The head of the snake has turned into a rope. I'm advancing. Is that what happens? Or a waste of speech? Rope, rope, rope. Damn. Rope, rope, rope. There's no process. What do? See if you can set your fear aside and look. Oh, pick it up. There's no snake. It's a rope. Where did the snake go? Gone. Because it was never there in the first place. So when you finally see the fundamental unreality of a personal sense of self, so many names for it. Those of us who Thursday have been doing Vivekachudamani, we have Karta, the agent. Monday night, we had Chidabhasa, the reflection of consciousness. Shankara will draw on Gaudapada. He'll call it Jiva Bhavana, the attitude or the feeling I'm a person. It's like when you are in the dream state. You don't wake up in the morning, oh, I'm doing better. Half my dream is gone. My dream ego, it's thinning out. The legs have disappeared. It's only the torso that goes around in the dream. Is that your experience? Yes? No?
No.
What happens? Gone, like a flash of lightning. Let's see. So the idea here is, first of all, two different ways we can interpret it. We get just those glimpses in the beginning. Now, if we have a good, deep samadhi, samadhi is an experience. It is not the truth itself, but it reveals the truth. The mind just ends. All the vasanas have been roasted. It's very clear there's no person there. In fact, there never really was. Then you see it. And if the mind after that tries to throw up a personal sense of self, You see it for what it is. You're not true. You're not real. You don't pay attention to it. I know I am Brahman, not the body. And I'm certainly not the individual self. This jiva doesn't really exist. It's a kind of thinking. It's an attitude, not an entity. Any thoughts on this? All right.
And the reason, so I think in the past you've given the example of the miner's lamp, which allows us to kind of focus on things.
The miner's lamp, yes.
Right, like so the ability to pay attention to things. So that also is something that kind of comes and goes. It's not like a permanent thing, but what is permanent is like just the fact that we are aware, like that.
Well, for example, you can take a shower in the morning. Do you have a full-length mirror in your bedroom or in the bathroom? So before you get dressed, you can look at your body in the mirror and you can say, oh yeah, my workouts are starting to work. I'm starting to get buffed, or oh yeah, I'm losing a little weight, or oh my God, everything's sagging even more, whatever it is you're seeing. But when you walk away from the mirror, you don't lose awareness of your body. So you don't need to be thinking about it in order to know it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is what the Buddhists call mirror wiping. I have to have high beam eyeballs and all tuned up all the time. I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to lose myself. When are you ever not you? Once you really grasp it, it's the most simple awareness of the most ordinary waking state. And it's there whether you're thinking about it or not, whether you're paying attention to it or not. It never goes away. You cannot lose yourself. But each one of us must come to that as a direct realization to see what is the self. It's not something gained or attained. In the beginning, again, when the mind is full of vasana and the senses are mostly extroverted, the devas here, we just get little glimpses.
I guess like what I was thinking about was the sense of agency, which kind of is maybe correlated to the miner's lamp, where like it feels like I am looking at a particular thing versus something else, right? Like I'm choosing to look at or choosing to pay attention to what you're saying versus thinking about something else. So that sense of agency is also seems to be fleeting, and it is not a permanent thing. It's
absolutely
right. So there is a sort of relative sense of agency, but not a sort of.
Well, and this is in fact what we went through with Panchadashi. You see, so for the person of ignorance, they always feel like I'm Chidabhasa, to use his language. I'm the agent. I got up this morning, I took a shower, I did the dishes. For the person, the woman of wisdom, when she's doing what we call vyavahara, worldly transactions, she may say, I'm going to the office today. But her knowledge is that's fundamentally an illusory experience. Just because it's an illusion doesn't mean we don't see it. Again, we have these two great metaphors: snake in the rope, mirage waters in the desert. When we do mirage waters in the desert, it still looks like water, even though your knowledge is heat waves off the sand. So the person of wisdom behaves like anybody else in the world. But they always know that this karta, this agent, this ego, is not who I am. But you don't have to talk funny. Is that making sense?
Mm.
And in fact, there are schools of Buddhism that talk funny. They say this one is going to the store. They won't use I. But that's pointless. It's your knowledge that's important, not necessarily the way you use language. So what Vidyaranya will say is, for the jnani, they will use the language of Chidabhasa for worldly transactions. But philosophically, they know I am Brahman. Did I answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You may eat a huge meal and you go, oh, I'm such a pig. I ate so much. You ever heard somebody say something like that?
Yes.
Do they really turn into a pig?
No.
No. Same thing. I'm going to the store. All right, good question. Any other thoughts on this flash of lightning? All right, next verse. Next mantra.
अथाध्यात्मं यदेच्छन्ति इव च मनोनेन चेतदो परस् चैतदुपस्मरत्यभिक्षण sankalpah. Now, as regards this description from the point of view of his manifestation as Atman within the body, quote, as one thinks of Brahman by the mind and as speedily as the mind wills.
So the idea here is when we are in the body, it seems like the self is inside. Jim, it's what I call the amputation meditation. Where am I located? I cut off my hands, am I still me? There was an old-timey movie with Sean Connery. God, this is probably 50 years ago, called Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Sean Connery made some really good movies and he made some really bad ones. But Sir Gawain and the Green Knight have a duel. The Green Knight says, okay, you get to cut my head off first, and then after that, I'll cut your head off. And Sir Gawain said, it's a pretty easy battle to win. What's he going to do after I cut his head off? So Sir Gawain takes his big two-handed sword and goes whack, cuts the Green Knight's head off. But the Green Knight didn't die. So the question is, was he a headless body going like this, looking for his head? Or was the head lying on the ground going, body, come hither? He couldn't have used the finger. Where was he located with identity? Very interesting question. In the movie, he was in the head. He picks up the head and goes, puts it back on. Then he goes after Sir Gawain. I can't remember how it is. But where are you located? What's the cartoon where they have all the heads in the little jars?
Futurama.
Futurama, yeah. But the idea is, where are you really located? So in the ego state, it seems like I'm in the body someplace. But again, if we go to the dream state, it seems like I'm in the dream body. Or to use the language that Lord Krishna does in Gita. First, he says, all this is strung on me like gems on a thread, Mani Sutre. So there's a self inside you. Oh, isn't that nice? And then much, much later, he says, well, actually, I am not in them. They are in me. So in fact, your dream body is comprised of, pervaded by, and inside your mind. If you dream about a horse, you don't wake up with the horse next to you. And Krishna says, well, actually, they're not even really in me. So is the dream body real? Well, it's certainly a real experience. But does it have sat, real existence? It's imagination. It's imagination. And he says, behold my divine Maya, the support of all. So you are not in the body. The body is in consciousness. As is the table and the chair and the stars, the galaxies, the worms and the germs, the smallest piece of sand is all in consciousness. Though it seems or feels like I'm in the body, that is a trick of the mind. That's all it is. Now, in many of the Upanishads, we get what we call upasana. For those of dull intellects, we're given external meditations to do. The one that pops into my mind is the one from Kenopanishad, where at the end it says, meditate on the self as a flame the size of your thumb located in the heart. Oh, that's myself. It's only the speaker. And it's in my heart. I'm going to try to see, look within. It's hard to do. These are upasana. These are meditative exercises for those with dull intellects. Even Ramana Maharshi in some of his discourses would say the self is located in the heart. Quoting scripture. And again, I was not there when he was answering the question. It may have been a particular answer for a particular student. But the spiritual heart, the Hridaya, Swamiji used to say, is when the intellect is absolutely quiet and the emotions are freed from all sense of struggle. And they merge as this thunderous silence. In that emptiness, my real nature becomes evident. All right, next mantra. We may finish it this morning.
Tadha tadvanam nama tadvanam ityupasitavyam saya etadevam vedabhihena sarvani bhutani sanvachanti. Brahman is well known as Tadvanam, the one who is to be worshipped as the Atman of all living beings. So it is to be meditated upon as Tadvana. All love him who know it thus.
So the self is to be worshipped as the Atman, the self of all living beings. So there's lots and lots of stuff in this mantra. The first idea that's implied. So I, as a yogi, am going to go through subject-object discrimination. I am not the body, I am not the prana, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not that karta, that age. I'm not even pure ignorance. I am witnessing consciousness. Ooh. You're a stupid fool. I am witnessing consciousness. No. When you realize yourself, you realize the self in everyone. So you see the room from your viewpoint. I see the room from my viewpoint. You are aware of your body. I'm aware of my body. You are aware of your feelings. I'm aware of my feelings. You are aware of your thoughts. I'm aware of my thoughts. But if anyone has this capacity to introvert the attentive faculty and notice the knower, they see, oh, I'm not a person. I'm Chidakash. I'm the space of consciousness. And the self in you is not like the self in me. Vedanta is different than Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy says there's a bunch of individual Purushas running around. Vedanta says the self in you is Brahman. No division. You are not a part of Brahman. Some people use the image, I am the drop and God is the ocean. No. Your experience of I, listen carefully, is the totality of Brahman. Little old me? Well, how big are you? Or how small are you? It feels like I'm kind of a point from which I peer out at the world. But then when I get quiet and look behind my eyes, it's like there's infinite space of awareness. Well, am I really big or really small? Actually, you are outside of space and time. You are beyond all the dimensions. But you are not a part of Brahman. You are the totality of Brahman. There's only one of us here. I am Atma Brahma. Doesn't say this self is a part of Brahman. The self is a reflection of Brahman. Self is Brahman. One consciousness shining through all these various equipments. And it is that which is to be adored. We adore that which we love. We love that which makes us happy. So when the yogi develops the trick of being satisfied in the self by the self, cast off attachment to this world, you hear people going to their psychotherapist. I'm learning to love myself. Oh God, if only they would. What they're learning to do is love their body, love their personality. I'm glad they're doing that. There's no liberation in a bubble bath. Thank God. God is the most beloved. And this transforms the mind and ultimately even the body. Going through the story of Chudala in Yoga Vasishta with a student. And that story also appears in Tripura Rahasya. But in Yoga Vasishta, it's a little bit different. And there's a lot added to it. One of the things that's added to it is Chudala, when she realizes the self. She's an old lady by this time. She becomes beautiful. So our resentment, our anger, our stress, our anxiety, out pictures in the body. So frequently, I'll say to people, just look at a photo of Donald Trump and then look at a photo of Ramana Maharshi. It wasn't the fact that he looked like George Clooney, but he's beautiful. Because he emanates, radiates such divine love. Because he sees the self, not only in himself, but throughout every form. And that makes the person with steady wisdom beloved. That's not the goal. You're not doing this so people like you. But it is one of the things that happen. People want what you have. They may not even know what it is. Why? Because the body and the mind are merely a gross and subtle form of the same thing. When your mind is at peace, it affects and changes the body. So there's a practice implied here. See the self in and through the world, two ways to approach it. One, it's all like a dream. Another approach is when you meet people, don't focus on their bodies. Don't even focus too much on what they say or do. Look them right in the eyes. And that's Krishna looking back at you. Can't remember who said it in Western philosophy. The eyes are the windows to the soul. But there's a conscious being looking out of those eyes. Magic holes in eternity. There is a conscious being shining through the subtle intellect, through the mind, through the pranas, through the senses. How do you? Who's looking out? That's myself. Acknowledge that. Relate to that. Watch how your worldly relationships transform. So we have great saints like Francis of Assisi, Ramana Maharshi, who even wild animals would come to be in their presence, to bask in that borrowed glory. This is the real vibhuti. It's not sacred ash. Real vibhuti is that thunderous silence, so filled with bliss that we experience in the presence of the Lord. And it's your real truth. Scripture does not say this self is Brahman and very special people. All right, next month.
New section, self-perfection technique. Upanishadam bho bruhit yukta ta Upanishad brahmihi vavata Upanishad amma brahmeti. Disciple, sir, teach me the saving knowledge. Preceptor, the saving knowledge has been imparted to you. Verily, we have imparted the saving knowledge of Brahman to you.
Yes. So, what is the implication of this? Is the disciple dull-witted? Okay, I've heard what you said, but I don't get it. Dumb it down for me. Make it clearer. Actually, no. It's not the doubt. The doubt is this. All right, you've taught me that by which everything is known, without which nothing can be known, which is not knowable as an object, yet it is not unknown, it's my very self. Is there a self beyond the self? There's something else to be known. And the Guru says, beyond which there is nothing. It is the end. Veda Ant. Veda. So the doubt that you may have, okay, I'm pretty clear about my essential nature. But gee, I want a wackadoodle experience. Maybe if I take ayahuasca, MDMA, ecstasy, is that beyond the self? Stupid, silly mind states. They come and they go. Beyond which there is nothing to know. Is the end. So here the preceptor says, nope, I've given you the totality of the truth. Now, in the beginning, we think we can know this world. So and so was a jerk. Someone else is really nice. But God's a mystery. It's actually the other way around. It's this world that's the mystery. Such is the nature of the Lord's Maya. All I know is I'm seeing something. But it's all just a form of mind. Mysterious, no real cause and effect. Something there is that can be known absolutely. Fact is always known absolutely. It's the only thing you will ever know for sure. The only thing to be known that swallows all doubt. That is the teaching of the Upanishad. That is the end of knowledge. All right. Is there like one or two more verses? Are we at the end?
Two more.
Two more.
Tasyai tapotamaha karmeti pratishtha veda sarvangani satyam asatyanam. Austerity, restraint, and dedicated work. These are the foundations of it, the saving knowledge of the Upanishads. The Vedas are its limbs, and truth is its abode.
So let's parse this. Now, the Upanishad in the last verses steps it down into the practical. What is it that we can do? So we'll parse them. What's the first practice?
Austerity.
Austerity. And is it tapas?
Dhamma. Oh, sorry, tapa. That's right.
Yeah, tapa, austerity. So what do we mean by tapas? Tapas literally means heat. It's usually translated as austerities. It doesn't mean staying up all night. It doesn't mean sleeping on a bed of nails. It doesn't mean going for days and days without food. Why do they call it heat? The real meaning of tapas is this: the mind is ruled by the law of inertia. Law of inertia. A body in a vacuum at motion or at rest will stay in motion or at rest until energy is applied to move it. So some asteroid is moving through space on its trajectory, it just keeps going. But if another asteroid hits it, then it changes course. Energy is applied to change. So you and I have habituated modes of thinking. They literally show up as the convolutions in the brain. Those are the grooves. My sanskaras, like grooves. So if you've got snow melt on a mountain and it's just running down in a little rivulet, you can take a little dirt and build a dam and divert the stream. Not difficult to change the course of the flow of the water. Or if you need to, if it's a deep river, you have to build a dam to change the course of the river. But what about the Grand Canyon? Can you change the course of the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon? Theoretically, it'd be tough. So also, we have habituated modes of thinking, which again will impel us into habituated modes of acting. To use the language of Kenopanishad, Shreyas and Preyas. Some of these modes of thinking are dear to me. I like eating a whole bunch of sugar, but they're not good for me. Shreyas. So our work is to change the flow of the habituated modes of thinking and from that behaving that are not conducive to my well-being, to my health, and ultimately to my sadhana. Now, what's going to happen when we try to change a habit? True story. So, not day before yesterday, but Thursday prior, I had lunch with my dear friend Sheila. We've known each other for 24 years now. And she's 87. And I was telling her that I'm taking up a Lenten practice. I don't always take up a Lenten practice, but I've decided what I want to work on this year is to give up backseat driving. I think it's very funny that I'm blind and I have a poor sense of direction. And you're the blind backseat drivers telling people where they need to go in the car. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a bad habit. I want to give it up. When I'm a passenger in the car, keep your damn mouth shut, Jim. Now, yes, she is 87. She picks me up, tell her about my Lenten practice. We're both church musicians. That's where we know each other from. So we're going to go have lunch down on Jack London Square. I'm giving her driving directions practically every block. And I'm just laughing and laughing and laughing at how rebellious my mind is. Any of you ever have that? So when we do tapas, the mind sets up resistance, generates heat. But we keep at it because we've been a little better. So we do not let perfection be the enemy of the good. We work on it. Oh, I wanted to meditate an hour every day this week. And I did it once. Well, okay, you did it once. That's better than not at all. Do better next week. Try today. So this is tapas. Now, this is in tension with Ishvara Pranidhana, trustful surrender to God. I'm going to turn it all over to God. God's going to fix everything. This is what I call armchair grace. I'm just going to sit there with my bad habits. And when God's good and ready, she'll fix me. There are certain things God does, and there are certain things you and I must do through our own self-effort. I like to say, God doesn't scrub floors. My kitchen floor is dirty. I have to clean it. I can't sit here in the chair and wait for God to come down and scrub my floors. Now, by God's grace, I can be inspired to do the work. So, St. Augustine of Hippo framed it this way. Pray like it all depends on God. I of myself do nothing. You do it. And work like it all depends on you. We have to hold that apparent paradox in our minds. Tapas comes from our own purushartha, our own self-effort. And by God's grace, it's successful. Now, we must learn to discern the difference between the indulgent part of the mind and really being in touch with our intuition, God's will for me. The indulgent part of the mind is, I call it the inner 2-year-old. I want ice cream. I don't want to eat my vegetables. Many people think they're living in the flow, just going with the moment. And they're actually completely tyrannized by the indulgent part of the mind. That does not make for a spiritual life. Gita says we must attain to yoga rudha, to mount the steed of the mind, where I'm master of the mind. I'm not at the effect of the tyranny of the indulgent part of the mind. This is tapas. Any thoughts on this? All right, next idea.
Yo va.
No, not the next verse. The next idea in the verse.
Sorry.
We just did tapas.
Restraint.
Yes. Same idea. Learning to not let the mind gush out, to rub all over the sense objects. This is Shama, Dhamma, and Uparati. That peaceful state of mind when it stays in steady contemplation of the goal after having muhur muhu, Shankara says again and again, detached itself from the chaos of the sense objects through a steady observation of their defects. I'm like, what's going to happen if I go down that path? Dhamma. As ideas of sense objects arise in my mind, am I able to set that aside and stay on the task ahead of me, steady contemplation on the infinite? He says the best uparati, sense withdrawal, is when the mind no longer creates vrittis in the presence of the sense objects. This is mature restraint. Next idea.
Dedicated work.
Yes. So what's the work that I want to do? I give up working for my own ego satisfaction. You have a new employer, the Lord. Dedicate everything to the Lord. If that's difficult, serve the society. Serve the people around. Next idea.
Those are the three.
All right. So these are the ideas that help us purify the mind, make it soft, and available for self-inquiry. And we have one more. One last mantra.
This, the previous verse also had the Vedas are its limbs and truth is its abode.
Okay, so we learn how to live an intelligent life in the external world through the Vedas. And truth is its abode. What is the truth? You can look at it exoterically, the content we find in the Upanishads. And then the deeper meaning, you are the truth. Sat is Satyam. Pure existence is the truth. All right. And now the last mantra. Is there only one more? Or do we have more after that?
No, I think this is the last one. Actually, no, there's an ending Shanti mantra. Yo va etam evam veda pahatya papamana manante swarge loke jeye pratishthishti iti chaturtha khandaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Verily, he who knows it thus destroys sin and is established in Brahman, the boundless, the highest, and the blissful. Yes, he is established in it.
So the person who knows this truth about themselves and about the world, this destroys sin, papa. Here, there's the exoteric meaning as you enter into the spiritual life, you stop being a jerk. The deeper meaning, the root of all papam is avidya, spiritual ignorance. This knowledge destroys spiritual ignorance. I find that the self that I am, Vishuddha, extremely pure, nirmalam, without any dirt, no taint, nirpapam, without any sin, nirpunyam, too, without any merit. Chidananda Rupa, my form is this consciousness. All right, last Shanti mantra.
It's the Om Sahana Bhavatu.
Okay, one more time. Together. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The translation.
Let him protect both. Let him protect us both. Let us come to experience him together. Let us exert together. May our studies be fruitful. May we not quarrel. Peace be with us from heavenly wraths. Peace be with us from phenomenal cruelties. Peace be with us from bodily obstacles.
So as we always do, if you'll please turn to the first mantra and we'll repeat it for our own swadhyaya.
Om Kene Shitam Patati Reshitam Manaha Kena Prana Prathama Preti Yuktaha Kene Shitam Vachite Vachamimam Vadanti Chakshuhu Shrotram Ka U Devo Yunakti. Disciple, by whom willed and directed does the mind light upon its objects? Commanded by whom does the main vital air prana proceed to function? By whose will do the men utter speech? What intelligence directs the eyes and the ears towards the respective objects?
So we will end here, and we ended sooner than I thought, more suddenly. What we will do next week is start on Prajna Upanishad. I will order books. You can either get them through Amazon probably or Chinmaya Publications, but I'll have a few here for people who come in person. So we will end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.